In July 2025, the Philippines finalized a landmark agreement with China, marking a pivotal moment in the nation's diplomatic history and signaling a new era in regional relations. This move signals a dramatic shift in its foreign policy, as the Philippines steps away from its traditional reliance on Western allies and embraces a more nuanced approach to international partnerships. For years, Manila has carefully balanced its long-standing U.S. alliance with China's growing influence in the region. But this new deal marks a direct and bold engagement with Beijing, promising significant economic rewards such as increased trade, infrastructure investment, and technology transfers. At the same time, it raises pressing questions about national sovereignty, the future of regional stability, and the Philippines' ability to navigate great power competition. President Marcos Jr. frames the agreement as a pragmatic move to secure national interests and drive economic growth, positioning the Philippines as an agile and adaptive player in a rapidly changing multipolar world order. The deal coincides with the 50th anniversary of diplomatic ties between Manila and Beijing, reflecting a complex history of both cooperation and conflict, especially over the contested waters of the South China Sea, where tensions have often flared. The government now aims to compartmentalize economic cooperation with China while maintaining robust security ties with the United States, a delicate balancing act that will test the Philippines' diplomatic skills and strategic foresight in the coming years. Whether this bold pivot ultimately succeeds will depend on careful implementation, transparent governance, and the ability to protect national sovereignty while managing the interests of two powerful partners in an increasingly complex global landscape. At the heart of this landmark agreement is China's ambitious pledge to invest $10 billion in the Philippines over the next 5 years, a sum that signals a new era of economic partnership and regional influence. These investments are set to target critical sectors, infrastructure, energy, and technology, aiming to transform the Philippine landscape and drive long-term growth. Major projects will break ground in Luzon and Mindanao, focusing on modernizing the country's aging energy grid, expanding digital connectivity, and boosting the tech sector to create new jobs and opportunities. The deal also marks a historic shift, as both nations agree to jointly explore oil and gas reserves in the disputed South China Sea, moving from years of confrontation to a new phase of cautious cooperation. Maritime security is another cornerstone, with joint naval patrols, intelligence sharing, and advanced surveillance equipment and training provided by China to enhance Filipino capabilities at sea. Supporters hail the agreement as a bold step to strengthen the Philippines' economic and security position, but critics warn of growing dependence on China and the potential erosion of national autonomy. By weaving together investment, resource development, and security collaboration, the agreement creates a deeply interdependent partnership that could reshape the region's balance of power. Its sweeping scope moves the China-Philippines relationship far beyond simple trade, entangling both nations in a complex web of shared interests, opportunities, and significant risks for the future. Proponents tout the deal's economic promise, with $10 billion in investments expected to create jobs and modernize infrastructure. New roads, bridges, and ports will boost connectivity and lower business costs, while energy sector upgrades could stabilize power and attract further investment. Chinese capital and technology may help lower electricity costs and introduce renewables, directly benefiting businesses and households. Investment in technology could accelerate digital transformation, from smart cities to expanded 5G networks, and foster collaboration in e-commerce and fintech. The government frames the deal as a strategic move to leverage China's economic power for national development, with President Marcos Jr. championing it as a cornerstone of his agenda. For many Filipinos, the promise of jobs and growth is a compelling reason to embrace this new partnership. Despite official optimism, the deal has sparked protests and widespread skepticism over transparency and sovereignty. Many fear undisclosed terms and worry that economic gains come at the expense of control over the West Philippine Sea, a symbol of national pride. Critics argue that joint exploration and patrols with China undermine the 2016 arbitral ruling and legitimize Beijing's presence in disputed waters. Legal and political challenges are mounting, with the Senate and legal experts scrutinizing the constitutionality of resource-sharing provisions. Security cooperation, especially Chinese surveillance and training, raises concerns about vulnerabilities and undue influence over Philippine defenses. The opposition's narrative blends nationalism, legal principle, and security anxiety, fueling a contentious debate. The deal's fate will hinge on whether the government can address these deep-seated fears while delivering promised benefits. The US and other allies have responded to the China deal with caution and concern, wary of Beijing gaining a strategic foothold in a key partner nation. This development has raised alarms in various capitals around the world. Washington warns of risks to the rules-based order and regional stability, emphasizing the potential for increased tensions. While Japan and Australia fear the pact could set a precedent for other Southeast Asian countries, they worry about a domino effect that could alter the regional power dynamics. The US response is twofold, voicing apprehension while simultaneously reinforcing ties with Manila through a new trade deal, aiming to strengthen economic bonds, and reaffirming the Mutual Defense Treaty. This treaty has been a cornerstone of their relationship for decades. President Marcos Jr.'s White House visit underscored the enduring alliance, highlighting the shared history and mutual interests. Even as the U.S. defense establishment pledges to modernize the Philippine military to deter Chinese aggression. This modernization effort is seen as crucial for maintaining regional stability. Mixed signals from U.S. leaders, including President Trump's dismissive remarks, have added layers of complexity to the situation. These mixed messages complicate the diplomatic landscape, making it harder to present a unified front. The U.S. military remains steadfast in its commitment, continuing to engage in joint exercises and strategic planning, highlighting a divergence between political rhetoric and strategic priorities. This divergence is evident in the ongoing military cooperation. Manila now finds itself navigating between competing powers, each vying for influence. The Philippines must carefully balance its relationships. The outcome will shape not only Philippine security, but the broader Indo-Pacific balance, influencing the future of the entire region. The Philippines balancing act between the US and China is rooted in decades of strategic hedging since formal ties with Beijing began in 1975. The US alliance has long provided security and shaped political culture, while China's economic pull is impossible to ignore. Philippine leaders have alternated between challenging China's maritime claims and seeking economic cooperation, reflecting a persistent dilemma: how to benefit from Chinese investment without sacrificing sovereignty. The power imbalance with China makes investment tempting, but also stirs public anxiety about trading long-term interests for short-term gains. Domestic politics further complicate matters, as most Filipinos favor Western-style democracy, creating tension with the pragmatic need for Chinese engagement. Leaders must balance public sentiment with economic realities, performing a diplomatic tightrope act. This historical context frames the current deal and the challenges ahead. With the agreement in place, the Philippines faces intense scrutiny as the Senate prepares to debate its national security implications. Early results, joint energy exploration and infrastructure projects will be closely watched, with success or failure shaping public opinion and the government's credibility. The deal could set a precedent for other ASEAN nations managing their own China relationships, while prompting the U.S. to deepen engagement with regional partners. Manila's challenge is to craft a sustainable foreign policy that balances security needs with economic opportunity. The stakes are high. Success could make the Philippines a model for middle power diplomacy, while missteps risk alliances and sovereignty. The choices made now will shape not only the nation's future, but the evolving strategic order of Asia. The world is watching as the Philippines charts its course in this new era.